So, how does a Nobel Prize actually save a life? Have you ever really thought about that? I mean, we hear these incredible headlines, right? Some amazing scientist wins this huge award. But how does that discovery, that idea, get from a lab bench to, a patient's bedside? Well, today, we're going to peel back the curtain on a modern medical giant, the University of California, San Francisco. You probably know it as UCSF. We're going to break down how this place really works, how it's built to be this incredible, integrated system that takes pure, hardcore science and turns it into actual, real-world healing. Okay, so here's the plan. First, we'll look at the foundation, that Nobel Prize-winning science. Then, we'll trace the journey from the lab straight to the patient. After that, we'll dive into how fairness and equity are baked into its DNA. And finally, we'll check out what actually powers this whole massive medical city. All right, let's get into it. You really can't understand the UCSF of today without going back to its roots. And those roots, they're sunk deep in decades of fundamental scientific breakthroughs. I mean, discoveries that have completely changed how we see our own bodies. I mean, just look at this lineup. It's incredible. We're talking about 6 Nobel laureates over 5 decades. This isn't some lucky streak, right? It's a deep-seated culture of consistent, game-changing research. Everything from figuring out cancer genes back in the 80s to literally mapping our sense of touch just a couple of years ago. Okay, and this is where it gets really cool. This is how those abstract Nobel-winning ideas turn into real treatments. That discovery of oncogenes in '89, that directly led to targeted cancer drugs like Herceptin. The work on prions, it opened up whole new ways to research diseases like Alzheimer's. And that recent work on pain receptors, that's our best shot right now at creating non-addictive painkillers. This is that direct line we were talking about, from a Nobel Prize straight to saving a life. Okay, so you have a brilliant idea, a breakthrough discovery. That's fantastic. But now what? How do you turn that into something a doctor can actually use? Well, UCSF has built some serious machinery just for that. It's basically a 4-step pipeline, and it's super structured. You start with that big discovery, right? Step 1. Then this special office gets involved to, translate it. Step 2. Step 3, they go out and find business partners. And finally, step 4, that brand new therapy gets delivered to patients through UCSF's top-notch hospitals. And here's the absolute key to the whole thing. This department called Innovation Ventures. You got to think of them as the ultimate bridge. They stand with one foot in the UCSF Science Lab and the other in the business world, making the connections to turn a brilliant idea into a real drug or technology that can actually get to people. And where does all this innovation land? Right here, in these incredible, state-of-the-art places. Places like the new Helen Diller Hospital or the Weil Institute for Neurosciences, which, by the way, has kept UCSF at the very top of the field for almost 30 years. And what's the result for you, the patient? It means best-in-class care for everything from a stroke to heart failure to cancer surgery. The source material had this fantastic analogy that I think just nails it. Think of it like building a house. The Nobel discovery, that's your architectural blueprint. Innovation Ventures, they're the project manager, the ones hiring the contractors and ordering the materials. And UCSF Health, they are the master builders, physically constructing the treatment that saves a life. Okay, so we've established UCSF is this powerhouse of innovation. That's great. But does that innovation reach everyone? How does a place this advanced make sure it's serving the whole community, not just a select few? Well, it turns out they've woven this idea of equity into everything they do. They have these 3 core missions: research, education, and patient care. And for each one, there's a laser focus on fairness. So their research isn't just about molecules. It's about understanding why some communities get sicker than others. Their education isn't just about science. It's about training doctors to be culturally aware. And their patient care, it's designed specifically to help the people who need it most. And this isn't just talk. Here's a real-world example. They have something called the HEALS model. It's a tool, a framework to teach their own professors how to handle tough conversations about bias in medicine. They're literally building this awareness right into the training of the next generation of doctors. And this commitment to the community, it goes way beyond the hospital walls. They have special programs to get students ready to work in underserved neighborhoods. They actually bought 2 community hospitals recently just so people in those areas wouldn't lose access to care. And they act like an anchor institution, meaning they use their massive economic influence to hire locally and invest right back into the city. So let's go back to that engine analogy, because it's a good one. If UCSF is a high-performance engine, then research, education, and patient care are these perfectly interconnected gears, They all have to work together. But what's the fuel that makes the whole thing go? It's that commitment to health equity. That's what drives it all.
All right, so let's talk about the practical stuff. The money, the rules. How does a massive multi-billion-dollar medical city actually run? Who foots the bill? The answer, well, it's probably not what you're expecting.
Okay, just to give you a sense of scale, let's look at one project, the new Helen Diller Hospital. The price tag? Over $2 billion. That's with a B. A staggering number. So really, where does that kind of money come from? And here is the big surprise. It doesn't come from state taxes, not from the general fund. UCSF Health is what's called a self-sustaining enterprise. That means it has to earn its own way. And get this, every single dollar it makes in profit gets plowed right back into the mission. More research, better training, more patient care.
And this whole operation is guided by a whole web of really strict standards. On the financial side, they use special bonds for those huge construction projects. Legally, they have to follow state laws, like one that says every hospital has to be earthquake-proof by 2030. Ethically, every single research study with people has to get approved by a tough review board. And professionally, their nursing is so good it's had the top magnet recognition for more than 10 years.
You know, this last analogy really brings it all home. Managing UCSF is like being the captain of a massive aircraft carrier. It has to power itself with its own money, it has to navigate by a strict set of laws, and, most importantly, it's completely reliant on its highly trained crew, every single person, to fulfill its incredible mission. So, at the end of the day, what's the big picture here? The main takeaway? UCSF isn't just a great hospital. It's not just a fancy research lab. It's a whole, integrated, self-powering system. And in that system, the Nobel-winning science, the focus on fairness, and the top-tier patient care, they aren't just separate items on a checklist. They are all intentionally woven together to create this incredible engine for making all of us healthier. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. We've just walked through the blueprint for a truly modern medical center, from a fundamental scientific discovery all the way to caring for a local neighborhood. So the question is, if this is the model, what's it going to take for other places to build an engine just like it?